25 minutes of his and her stories.
I signed the foster papers and brought home the 6-year-old boy nobody else wanted. At first, John helped me with the dishes and always said please and thank you, and I couldn't understand why he'd been given back by 7 different families. But then one morning, I looked in the mirror and saw my hair had been chopped off. I came downstairs and John was eating cereal, while a pair of scissors laid next to him. I asked him, did he cut my hair? And he shook his head. Of course not. Why would I do that when you're so nice? I wanted to believe him, because over the next few days, John helped clean the house, hugged me before bed, and thanked me for not hitting him like his other foster parents. I almost let the hair go, until one day I saw spray paint all over my walls. I called John in, and when he saw the wall, his eyes lit up. That's so cool. How did you do that? I was in disbelief and said, I know you did it, but he shook his head. I swear I didn't. I swear. I clenched my jaw, and he instantly cowered like he was expecting to be struck. Just please, not my back. My last parents hurt me so bad there. I felt terrible and went into my room wondering what to do. John slid a note under the door. If I did something wrong, please tell me and I'll leave. Over the next few days, he kept his distance. He still helped with cleaning, but didn't laugh as much. Then I found a raw egg smashed on my TV. That was it. I called the agency and said I couldn't do this. I was sending him back tonight. Right as I got off the phone, John came down with his bag packed. Tears were running down his face. It's okay. Nobody ever wants me anyway. I don't know why. Let's just go. But something about how he said it made me stop. We got in the car, but instead of the foster agency, we drove to the hospital. Why are we here? I didn't answer him and just brought him inside and asked to run some tests. The doctor came back and called us both in. He asked John if he ever remembers doing anything bad. John shook his head. The doctor turned the screen and showed John footage from 15 minutes ago. John in the lobby flipping a tray. John started crying. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. The doctor said when John's mother was 8 months pregnant with him, she got in a bad car accident. John survived, but the impact damaged his frontal lobe. Apparently, the damage to John's brain gave him dissociative intermittent explosive disorder, a KA, chaotic, violent outbursts John simply doesn't remember. I instantly realized John wasn't bad. He was the sweetest kid ever, who'd been getting repeatedly punished for something he couldn't control. John was sobbing. I'm a monster. I'm a monster. Nobody will ever want me. But I hugged him. I do, sweetie. You're staying with me. We drove home and started John on medication. Nowadays, he rarely has an episode, and just last week, I officially adopted him. During a flight, our plane started dipping, and a flight attendant immediately rushed down our aisle. The pilot has collapsed. We're going down. Does anyone have any flying experience? Every passenger began screaming, and I looked over at my 12-year-old son, blissfully playing his flight simulator with noise-canceling headphones. I pulled off his headphones and saw the model of the plane he was flying. It was the same as this one. I stood up with shaking legs. My son can do it. He can land this plane. He looked at me. I can? I knelt down and took his hands, but a businessman shot out of his seat. I'm not letting some kid with a Nintendo crash this plane into the ground, but his face turned white as we nosedived further, and the crew rushed us to the cockpit. My son climbed into the seat and pulled on the headset, shaking. I told him, you got this, sweetheart. If anyone can do it, it's you. Air traffic control came over the radio. Do you copy? Yes, copy. They paused as they realized they were guiding a child. Okay, pull the thrust levers back to idle, set flaps to 30, but my son's hands were moving before they finished. Flaps 30, idle, set. The runway came and an alarm blared as the whole plane shook. I gripped my son's shoulder. You've got this, just like your game. But his eyes stayed locked ahead, his hands perfectly steady. The wheels slammed. The plane shuddered. The cabin screamed. We rolled to a dead stop. Everyone erupted into sobbing and cheering. The businessman sat with his face in his hands, crying. My son calmly took off the headset and turned to me. That was a little rough on the flare. I'd give it a 7 out of 10 difficulty based on my game. I felt myself get my first period while I was wearing white jeans, and I knew I had to do something. I shot my hand up so fast my elbow cracked the desk. Mrs. Harmon, can I please use the bathroom? It's an, lady emergency. She didn't even turn around from the board. I don't care if you're giving birth. No one interrupts my class for the bathroom. You'll stay in your seat. Savannah, the most popular girl in school, glanced back at me, and I was sure she was already picking out my new nickname to bully me with. I had no idea how I was going to get myself out of class without anyone making fun of me. I quickly glanced in my bag, but when I saw I had nothing to cover myself with, I pressed into my chair and prayed nobody would look. The boys in the back were laughing, but the girls had gone dead quiet. And when the teacher saw me fidgeting with my hands with tears in my eyes, she smiled even harder. Since you have so much energy for interruptions, come up and show us the answer to number 6. My knees started wobbling. She wanted me to stand up so I could be humiliated by everyone. She clicked her fingers. Now, I stood up on shaking knees, and the laughter cut off into one sharp gasp, because now everyone could see it. My eyes darted around the room because I was desperate to find someone who could help. That's when Savannah, the most popular girl in school, smiled and stood up. She pulled off her jacket, the white one that cost more than my whole closet, and tied it around my waist in front of the whole class. Then she turned to Mrs. Harmon. You did this to me at the start of the year. You made me sit there for 2 hours. I won't let you do it to her too. Mrs. Harmon's face went blotchy red as she slammed her marker on the tray. Sit down right now or it's detention. Savannah laced her fingers through mine and looked her dead in the eye, then give all of us detention. One by one, every girl in that classroom stood up. Mrs. Harmon was still yelling about suspensions as 20 girls walked walked me out the door. Right before we walked out, I stopped at the door and turned around. "Sorry for interrupting your class." The principal immediately noticed and rushed over, and Savannah told him everything in the hallway. Within the hour, the principal was walking Mrs. Harmon out of the same room that she wouldn't let me out of. After school, I tried to give Savannah the jacket back. She pushed it back into my hands. "Keep it. Pass it on when it's someone else's turn."
It took me 2 months to ask my crush out, and one dinner to nearly throw it all away. My brother leaned against the doorway while I was getting dressed. "Where you taking her?" I looked up from tying my shoes. "Marcello's," he whistled. "Bro." He pulled a $100 bill out of his wallet, folded it in half, and pressed it into my hand. "Put that in your wallet. Salads at that place are $20. Only order what you can pronounce." I stuck it behind my license and finished getting ready. An hour later, I was sitting across from Hannah in a booth with a real candle on the table, watching her open a menu that didn't have prices on her side, but mine did. I shut it before she could see my face. The waiter came over with a notepad. "Anything to start?" He looked at Hannah. "Just a Cobb salad and water for me, please." I should have said the same thing. Instead, I wanted her to believe I ate in places like this all the time. "I'll do the fried calamari to start, the ribeye for the entree, and we'll take a look at dessert after." Hannah raised her eyebrows. "Hungry?" "Starving," I smirked. The food came out, and Hannah looked at her salad and at my pile of calamari. "You sure you don't want me to get my half of the bill?" she asked. I shook my head. "I got it. I asked you out." "You sure?" "I'm sure." When the waiter came back, he asked, "Any dessert tonight?" "Chocolate cake, please," I said. Hannah split it with me and stole the last bite off my fork. Then the waiter set the bill on the table in a little black folder and walked off. I reached for my back pocket, but it was empty. I reached for my other pocket and discovered it was empty too. I patted my jacket, but there was nothing in it. I pictured my wallet sitting on my bed at home with my brother's $100 bills still folded inside it, right on top of the shirt I had decided not to wear. "Everything okay?" Hannah asked. I opened the folder and saw the total at the bottom said $87.42. I just said it. "Hannah, I left my wallet at home. I am so sorry. I am so sorry." I waited for her to grab her jacket and walk out. Instead, she reached into her purse and pulled out a debit card. "My dad gave this to me for emergencies. I think this counts. I'll pay you back tomorrow. I swear." She just smiled at me. "I've been hoping you'd ask me out since September, you know." "September? That was 2 months ago." "I know." I walked her home that night. We split a soda from the gas station on the corner of her street, and she paid for that too. When I got home, my wallet with my brother's $100 was still on my bed. I went to bed feeling stupid and lucky. The substitute teacher slammed my test down on my desk so hard my pencil jumped, then he leaned right into my face. "There's no way you finished this in 12 minutes with a perfect score, so you might as well just tell me who you copied off of." I slid the test back across the desk at him. "I didn't copy off anyone. My mom's a teacher, so I study from her stuff at home all the time." He snapped it with the back of his hand. "Oh, your mom's a teacher, so that makes you special?" That's what they all say, right up until the moment I catch them. I shook my head, then grated out loud, right here in front of everyone, "I'll wait." He laughed at his own desk like I'd told a joke. "I'm not turning my class into a game show so you can put on a show." I let him laugh because I knew something he didn't, and he was about to find out the hard way. He didn't grade it though. He just carried my paper up to the front and tapped it. "He got a 20 out of 20 while the rest of you are sweating bullets, and he did it in 12 minutes. Then he grabbed my backpack off the floor before I could reach it. "Your phone's in here somewhere, because it's always the phone with you slick little cheaters." He dumped the whole thing out across the floor, and when nothing but pencils and my house keys came out, he nudged the keys with his shoe while the class went quiet. "That doesn't prove anything. You obviously stashed it somewhere before I got here." He grabbed the test off my desk and started filling out a 0 slip against the wall. "You're getting a 0, and your real teacher can deal with you on Monday, so go ahead and pack up your little bag. Genius." I started putting my stuff back in my bag, and he was still writing when the door opened. My mom walked in to surprise the class on her first day back, looked at my stuff scattered across the floor, and pulled the test out of his hand. I sat up straight in my chair. "He didn't cheat. He's my son. I'm the real teacher, and we go over this stuff every night." The sub backed up against the whiteboard. "Wait, hold on. You're his mom?" He never said. "Nobody told me he was." The whole class started laughing. He picked his write-up slip back up off my desk and folded it small into his shirt pocket. My mom pulled me into a hug. 20 out of 20. "I'm so proud of you." I hugged her back with the widest smile, because all that stuff we go over at home every night has her actual tests in it, and I'd read this exact one the night before. She had no idea she just defended a cheater. It was the last week of school, and our bus was completely out of control that morning. Music blasting and homework flying through the air. "Sit down!" Mr. Carter's voice cracked over the intercom, but we barely heard him over our chaos. He missed the first turn for school, and we laughed, but when he did not turn around, everyone stopped smiling. "Mr. C, school's that way," Jenna called out. He kept driving with his foot kept pressing harder on the gas, and his eyes locked straight ahead, like we weren't even there. We'd finally pushed the grumpiest bus driver in the district over the edge. Jenna started shaking. Oh my God, he's kidnapping us. He swung onto the highway on ramp and merged so hard that kids grabbed the seats in front of them and someone in the back started crying. Jenna ran up to the front of the bus, gripping the seats as he swerved between lanes. Please, Mr. Carter, we're sorry. Just take us to school. We tore through a Walmart parking lot, cutting between cars. Then he sped onto some back road with trees on both sides and no houses anywhere. Police lights appeared behind us. Instead of pulling over, he went even faster. A boy in the back screamed, "Yo, he's running from the cops." The intercom clicked on. "Jenna, call 911 right now." Jenna was crying. "What? The cops are literally right behind us." He punched the steering wheel. "Just do it. Tell them we're on the back road behind the Walmart and there is a black Ford Explorer trying to pull us over." Jenna dialed with shaking hands and told the dispatcher exactly what Mr. Carter had told him to. Then he asked, "They said that isn't a real cop and not to pull over. The real police are almost here." A minute later, we watched through the back window as real police cars boxed the Explorer in and forced it to pull over. Mr. Carter pulled over and sat there with both hands still on the wheel and his whole body shaking. Then he turned to face all of us. "We got a notice this morning about a fake cop near the schools, and when I saw that Explorer following us, I knew something was off." A tear rolled down his cheek. "I'm sorry I scared you. You're all my kids." It was the first time any of us had ever seen him cry. I wasn't nearly as excited as my 8-year-old brother was when Mom shoved 2 horror movie tickets into my hand and said, "Have fun, boys." I tried to hand them back. I don't do horror, but my mom walked away and got in the car. "You're 16. You'll be okay." My brother tugged my sleeve. "Don't worry. I know all the tricks. I watched a documentary. It's gonna blow your mind." Then he pulled me to the car, like he was the one driving. When we got there, the previews alone had me sweating. By the time the movie started, I was halfway under my seat. Something screamed on the screen, and I flinched so hard, I knocked his soda over. My brother patted my knee. "You okay there, buddy?" Then he leaned in with a fistful of popcorn and whispered, "Watch the bottom left." Something came from the bottom left and I yelped. He nodded. "Told you." A few minutes later, a guy in a mask shuffled out of the dark, and just as I covered my eyes, my brother tapped my arm. "Look at his shoes. Those are sneakers. It's a guy in a suit." I peeked through my fingers, and they were sneakers. A little later, I covered my eyes again, and he said, "Want me to narrate?" I nodded, so he did. "Now she's running. Now she's tripping. Why do they always trip? Anyway, now she's dead." Around the halfway mark, he sighed, reached into his backpack, and handed me his stuffed T-Rex. "Here, his name's Stomp. He helps." I held Stomp the whole drive home. When we walked in the door, my brother sprinted to Mom and yelled, "Mom, there was so much fake blood. It was awesome. Also, the lady got destroyed. Also, we need to get popcorn out of the car." He ate dinner, brushed his teeth, and went straight to bed at 9 and slept like a baby. I sat on the couch hugging Stomp with every light in the house on until 2 in the morning. Then I checked the closet 3 times and cracked my brother's room door open so I could hear him breathing. Mom came downstairs the next morning and said, "Rough night?" My brother walked past me with a bowl of cereal and said, "He's fine. He had Stomp." A woman in the grocery store smiled at me. "Babe, who's watching the kids?" I looked behind me, but nobody was there. "What kids?" She laughed. "Very funny. Are they with your mom?" I took a step back. "Ma'am, I have never seen you before in my life." Her smile fell. "Okay, the joke's getting old." She reached into my cart and started looking through my groceries. "We have peanut butter at home." I looked around desperately for help, but an older woman nearby just smiled at us, like we were the cutest couple she had ever seen. "Sorry, I think you have me confused with someone else." I tried to push my cart away, but the woman kept following me. Her cart clipped my heel in the frozen food aisle. Ignoring me isn't funny. We talked about this in therapy. A man nearby overheard and shook his head like I was the worst husband he'd ever seen, so I just stayed quiet. The crazy lady started loading frozen pizzas into my cart, and by the time I reached the checkout, all of her groceries were in my cart, and she was standing next to me with her arms crossed. Well, I paid $400 for groceries for a family I didn't have because I didn't want to make a scene. I shoved the bags into her cart and sprinted to the parking lot, fumbling for my keys. She hurried behind me, talking about picking up the kids from school, and didn't stop until she saw my car. "Wait, where's your truck? I tried to tell you, I'm not your husband." Her hands were shaking as she pulled out her phone and showed me a photo of a man who looked exactly like me. "This is my husband. Who are you?" She called her husband on speakerphone, and we realized we had the same birthday. "We need to go talk to my mom." His wife gave me the address, and I met him there. I felt sick to my stomach when we knocked on her door, and when she opened it, she started to cry. "You had severe asthma, and as a single mom, the medical bills were destroying me." My twin's mouth fell open. "So you kept the healthy baby and gave the other one away?" She reached for his arm. "I did what I had to do." He pulled back. "You hid him from me." He turned his back on her and walked to the car, and I followed. She called after us from the doorway, and my twin turned around one last time. "He's my family now. Don't contact me again."
The Winter Olympics were on the TV, and my 5-year-old daughter Gracie was spinning around in socks trying to be like the figure skaters that were spinning. Suddenly, a commercial came on with Santa Claus, and Gracie froze mid-spin, watching him. "Mom, when do I get to meet Santa Claus?" The skating came back on, and I pointed at the TV while laughing. "You can meet Santa Claus if you win a gold medal at the Winter Olympics. I'll take you to Lapland to see him." I thought she would know that I was joking, but she wrote it down in her notebook. "Okay, Mommy, I can do that." I had no idea what she meant by that, but the next day, I went into the back garden and saw 6 girls in jerseys running around a circle drawn in chalk on the ground. I looked at my daughter, and when she saw me, she waved. "We're training to skate on the ice rink, Mom." I laughed and thought they were just joking around. The next weekend, Gracie and her friends expanded to the front garden. They put a cardboard ramp that was meant to be a ski jump against my fence, and it led into a kiddie pool full of crumpled paper that was supposed to be fake ice. Gracie shouted, "Look, Mommy, now we're practicing skiing." I had no idea how far she would take it, but the next morning, I opened my front door, and my daughter was holding a homemade Olympic torch over the kiddie pool filled with crumpled up paper. 8 kids in homemade jerseys stood at the start of the chalk oval, with laundry baskets behind them that were meant to be fake snow sleds. Other parents sat in my driveway in lawn chairs with coffee. "What the hell is going on?" I asked the parents because I was completely confused. "Your daughter put up posters saying she was hosting a homemade Winter Olympic. She said whoever wins a gold medal gets to meet Santa Claus in the North Pole." My daughter ran up holding her notebook. "Mom, you have to read the rules. You're the referee." I read the notebook. There were 7 events, and the medal ceremony was at 4 p.m. At the end of the 7th event, my daughter stepped into the kiddie pool in her socks. The crumpled paper that was fake ice crunched under her feet. She spun once with her arms out the way the figure skater on the TV had spun, then stopped with her arms in a circle above her head. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew she'd just won because the other kids cheered from the edge of the pool. The parents on my driveway stood up and clapped. She climbed onto a cardboard box that said gold in black marker. She ran over to me smiling from ear to ear. "Mom, I won, so when are we seeing Santa Claus?" That night, I sat on my bed and booked 7 flights to Lapland, and a week later, me and 7 children walked into Santa's grotto holding her paper Olympics medal. Gracie turned around and looked at me. "I told you I could do it, Mommy."
At 2 in the morning, my phone rang and my daughter's voice came through, tiny and terrified. "Daddy, Mommy's gone and I'm hungry and I don't know what to do." I'd moved 6 hours away after things fell apart with her mom, but I was already grabbing my keys. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" The line went dead before she could answer. I called back and it went straight to voicemail, so I tried my ex, but she didn't pick up. I'd been sending money for my girl every month, and my mom, who lived 10 minutes from her, always swore she was thriving. I tried her next and got the same silence. I thought about calling the police, but a year of those promises had me sure I'd just find her scared and alone. So I did 90 on the highway for 6 hours, telling myself my own mother would never lie to me about my own kid. I burst through my ex's unlocked front door, and the smell hit me first. Then I found my daughter in a storage closet on a bare mattress, covered in filth, her face so thin I could see her skull. "You came," she whispered. I picked her up and she weighed nothing. I cleaned her up with my shirt and bottled water from my truck because the tub was full of black mold. Then I drove straight to the hospital with her limp in my arms. The doctor hooked her up to IVs and came out looking grim. "Your daughter is severely malnourished. We have to call the authorities." A cop showed up, and when my ex walked in hours later with a lawyer, she was already screaming. "He abandoned us and paid me to keep her away. I have bank records, thousands of dollars, and now he breaks in and tries to steal her?" The cop's face hardened toward me, and I had no way to explain the money fast enough. That's when my mom rushed through the door, already crying. She'd finally answered my calls, and she couldn't carry the lie one more day. She stepped in front of the cop. "I'm sorry, but I watched that little girl starve. Her mom spent every dollar he sent partying, and she paid me to keep telling him everything was fine. I won't let her put this on him." The cop turned to her. "You witnessed the neglect? I'll testify to all of it." My ex started screaming, but the cop was already reaching for his cuffs. I got full custody and never spoke to my mom again. The bell rung, and my brother threw the punch at his opponent, knocking him down and winning the fight. But as he was about to take the championship belt, he felt a knife dig into his ribs. His opponent's friends were so mad my brother won, they jumped into the cage and started stabbing him repeatedly. I tried to help, but I wasn't quick enough, and my brother bled out on the mat in front of me. The attackers grabbed the belt and sprinted out the side exit before security could catch them. Police issued warrants for their arrest, but 6 months passed, and authorities couldn't find them. I was told they likely fled the country. Yet despite this, the MMA organization published an article issuing them a $500 fine for stealing the championship belt. The attackers actually wired the money, but still never returned the belt.
After 20 years cleaning the Halloran's house and raising their kids, my boss called me furniture at dinner, so I packed my bags and made sure she'd never forget what that meant. Mrs. Halloran raised her wine glass and laughed. Honestly, Rosa's barely staff anymore. She's like furniture. Her guests laughed too. I kept serving dinner while the 6-year-old wandered downstairs in pajamas and hugged my waist without even looking at her mother. The 10-year-old watched quietly from the doorway. After the guests left, I packed 2 suitcases and wrote down all of the important tasks and instructions that kept the house running. Let's see how long they last on their own. I included my sister's address at the bottom, then I taped the note inside the snack pantry where the kids would find it first. Before sunrise, I was gone. By week 2, the voicemail started. Forgotten lunches, the dog getting the wrong medication, burned dinners. Every message ended the same way. Rosa, please. I let the phone ring. Week 4 was the 6-year-old's birthday. Dad picked up the wrong cake from the wrong bakery. Mrs. Halloran called crying into my voicemail because the kids wouldn't stop asking for me. Then Mr. Halloran called from urgent care after the 6-year-old had eaten something she was allergic to at a friend's house. He didn't know which foods were unsafe or even the pediatrician's name. When the doctor asked who normally managed her care, he couldn't answer. Then he said quietly, I treated you like furniture too. I'm sorry. I stared at the phone for a long time. Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. The kids were standing on the porch with backpacks. I read your note, the 10-year-old said. I pulled them inside. My phone buzzed across the counter. Mrs. Halloran was hysterical. The kids are gone, Rosa. The police are here. I don't know how to do this without you. The little girl reached for my hand while the 10-year-old ate cereal at my sister's table. They're with me. They came here on their own. I let the silence sit a moment. Then I said, the furniture's keeping them safe, and I hung up. I was sitting on a seesaw when a round child was thrown into the air and landed on the other side. I was instantly launched into the sky. Ah! And when I landed on the playground's wooden chips, I heard a crack underneath my butt. I reached underneath with my throbbing wrist and pulled out an orange iPhone 17 Pro, and the screen was completely shattered. Suddenly, the round child's dad was standing over me. You just broke my son's phone, and it cost $1,099. You're paying for it. My eyes widened in shock because he just launched me off a seesaw, and now he wanted money, but there was no way I was paying for it. While he cradled his phone, I limped past him and lifted his crying son out of the seesaw myself. When I did, he looked up and mouthed, I'm sorry. I gasped because that's when I knew that he wasn't in on it. He was just the prop in his dad's scheming. His dad clenched his fists. Get back here and write me a check. This phone costed me months worth of savings. Other parents started walking over, and the dad turned to perform for them. Every head swung to me, so I pointed at the seesaw. He threw his kid onto that to launch me. It's his fault, so I'm not paying for it. The dad pulled out his phone. Then I'm calling the police. He expected me to be scared and hand over the $1,099, but I took out my phone to dial 911 first. Good idea. Let me get it for you. They're right around the corner, so they should be here soon. As soon as the cops arrived, they asked for my ID, and the dad was grinning and mouthed the words, I win. I quickly turned to his son, staring at him and silently begging him for help. His eyes darted to the phone stand, flipped open, and angled towards the seat on the seesaw where I was sitting. He was trying to tell me that his dad had been recording the prank the whole time. I turned to the kid. Why was your phone standing up? What was it recording? The dad stepped between us. Don't answer that. But the officer was already taking the dad's phone out of his pocket and pressing play on the most recently recorded video. The dad's voice played for the entire park to hear, watch what I'm going to do. They watched as his large son was launched onto the seat across from me. The officer looked up slowly. The dad spread his hands. That's out of context. She still broke it. His son pointed at him. You broke my phone, Dad. You owe me $1,099. His jaw dropped because he hadn't expected his own son to betray him. I laughed. You should see your face right now. My daughter got in the car and immediately shoved her left hand in my face, where her favorite singer's autograph was written in black marker. Mom, she actually touched me. I'm never washing this hand again. I laughed and told her, okay, sweetie. But that night, I saw her showering with the autographed hand sticking out from the curtain. I laughed. Are you seriously not washing it? And she gave me a thumbs up with the autographed hand. The next morning, she came back from playing outside and started only washing her right hand. Her left one was covered in dirt, and the autograph was barely even visible anymore. But when I tried putting soap on it, she pulled it away. I told you I'm not washing it. She touched this hand. I started getting worried, and during dinner, I noticed the skin around her fingers had began turning green. Sweetheart, that's not normal. We need to wash this. But she immediately shoved it in her pocket. You're not touching it. I tried to tell myself kids get marker rashes all the time, but then I crept into her room while she slept, and my mouth dropped in horror. She'd slipped her hand into an airtight Ziploc bag so I couldn't wash it. I carefully peeled back the bag, and her hand was a mottled, infected green. My legs trembled as I realized I had let it go too far and shook her awake. We're going to the hospital now. I immediately poured sanitizer onto her hand while she screamed, no, but the green wouldn't come off no matter what I did. At the hospital, she kept whispering into her hand, but the doctor pulled me aside. We're going to have to amputate it. My mouth fell in horror and I gasped. My daughter was 10 feet away kissing the hand she was about to lose. The doctors knelt down beside her and explained what would happen, and her eyes filled with tears. But then the doctor said, we'll save the part with the autograph, I promise. Suddenly, she wasn't sad anymore. Now my daughter waves at me with the one hand she has left, and the part of her skin with the autograph is floating inside a jar on her shelf.
Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos like this. Bye. The end.